Okay, so this is unbelievable. Seriously, it all started with my 15-year high school reunion. You know the type, the one you spend weeks low key obsessing over while pretending it's just some dumb thing you have to go to. Well, mine went completely sideways in the most spectacularly awkward way possible. And honestly, looking back, maybe I should have seen it coming, but also not really my fault when you think about it. The weeks leading up to it were intense, not like work intense. Um, that's just the usual soul crushing grind. I mean, reunion intense. Scrolling through the Facebook event page like it was my job, clicking on profiles, mentally cataloging who got fat, who got successful, who peaked in high school, the whole nine yards. It's pathetic, I know, but that's just what people do, isn't it? It's like this weird time capsule where you get to see if teenage predictions about everyone came true. Mostly the hope is just to look better than they remember. I spent way too much money on a new dress, something sleek, black, maybe a little too nice for a sad hotel ballroom, but whatever. First impressions matter, or second first impressions, I guess. Luis, bless his heart, just didn't get it. He'd see me scrolling or holding up different earring options and be like, babe, why are you stressing? It's just high school people. Easy for him to say. He didn't go to Northwood High. He doesn't understand the complex social hierarchy that apparently freezes in time the moment you graduate. He is well. He's Luis. Steady, predictable, works his decent paying but boring job. Comes home, watches sports, asks how my day was. Sweet, I suppose. But sometimes, God, sometimes the sweetness is just a lot, especially lately, ever since he, cleaned up his act way back, from way back before we were serious. Don't ask. Long story involves some questionable choices and maybe a few too many late nights I wasn't invited to. He's been trying so hard, like compensating hard, always checking in, wanting to know my schedule, making these grand gestures that feel less romantic and more like probation check-ins. Maybe that's mean, but sometimes it feels like he's trying to lock it down, make sure I don't suddenly realize he's not the exciting bad boy anymore, just Louise. So when he asked, maybe 2 weeks before the reunion, hey, should I take that Friday off? We could drive down together. I shut that down so fast. Oh my God. No, honey, I said, putting on my best breezy voice, the one that says I'm totally casual about this. It's seriously going to be the most boring night ever for you. Just a bunch of us reliving ancient history and talking about people you don't know. Plus, it's hours away. You stay home, have a guy's night, relax. I'll be fine. I'll just crash at my mom's afterwards. He looked a little disappointed, I guess, like a puppy who just got told no fetch. But he bought it. Phew. Because honestly, the last thing I wanted was Louise hovering over my shoulder all night. I wanted to be Stacy again. Not Stacy and Louie, just Stacy, the one who was voted most likely to succeed. The one who dated the quarterback for like a semester. The one who felt like she had the world figured out. I needed a night off from being us, just one night to feel like me. Is that really so bad? I packed my bag that Friday morning, gave him a quick kiss goodbye, already mentally rehearsing my entrance speech. Casual but confident. That kind of vibe. The drive down felt like escaping, windows down, music blasting, singing off key. It was like shedding a skin. Pulling up to the hotel, the Regency, if you can believe it, trying to sound fancy, but still smelling faintly of chlorine and regret, my stomach did this nervous little flip. Showtime. I took a deep breath, smoothed down my dress, probably for the 10th time, and walked in like I owned the place. Or at least, like I wasn't currently sharing a cramped two-bedroom apartment with slightly peeling bathroom tiles. The ballroom was exactly as tragic as I'd pictured. Dim lighting, navy blue tablecloths, a DJ playing, stuff that was probably cool 15 years ago. But the people, it was sensory overload. Faces I hadn't seen in years, some instantly recognizable, others needing a hard squint and a name tag check. I plastered on my brightest smile, the one that says, "I'm thriving, darling," and dove in. Stacy, oh my God, it was Jessica Miller, or whatever her married name was now, still rocking the same aggressively blonde highlights. Les, you look amazing, she gushed. Jess, you too, I lied smoothly, taking in her slightly too tight dress. Someone needs to discover Spanx. We did the whole air kiss dance, exchanged pleasantries about jobs and kids. She had three yikes and promised to catch up later, which we both knew we wouldn't. And so it went. I navigated the room, deploying compliments like strategic weapons while my inner monologue kept up a running commentary. Okay, Mark finally lost the ponytail. Thank God. Is that Brenda wearing leggings as pants in public? Bold move. Wow. David aged like milk. It wasn't mean spirited. Exactly. More like anthropological observation. You have to entertain yourself somehow in those situations. I found my old crew, Sarah and Chloe, huddled near the bar, already dissecting everyone. It felt comfortable slipping back into that old rhythm, the easy gossip, the shared history. We ordered drinks, something pink and sugary, because apparently we were still 19, and laughed about old teachers and embarrassing moments. Then he walked over. Jason, my ex, the cornerback, still had that easy charm, that slightly crooked smile. He looked good, annoyingly good. Grayer at the temples, maybe, but it worked for him. Stacy, he said, his voice doing that low rumble thing. Long time no see. We chatted for a bit, harmless flirting, reminiscing. It felt nice, that little jolt of validation, the feeling of being seen by someone who remembered the old Stacy. It wasn't serious, obviously. I mean, I have Louise, but it was like trying on an old favorite sweater, just for a moment. I was laughing at something Jason said, feeling light and carefree, probably the most relaxed I'd felt in months. I was shining. This was my night. No responsibilities, no checking in, just me, my friends, and a room full of people I could impress or ignore as I pleased. This, I thought, taking a sip of my drink, is exactly what I needed. Louise felt a million miles away. A comfortable but slightly dull background hum compared to the bright lights and buzzing energy of the reunion. And that's when it happened, right when I was peak shining, laughing with Jason, feeling like the homecoming queen all over again. A tap on my shoulder. I turned around, expecting maybe Sarah wanting another drink or someone else wanting to say hi. But no, it wasn't Sarah. It wasn't anyone from Northwood High. It was Lewis standing there holding this bouquet, like not fancy florist roses, but clearly gas station carnations, already looking a bit sad around the edges. He had this huge, hopeful grin on his face, the kind that says, "Ta-da! Aren't I the best?" He was wearing jeans and a polo shirt, looking completely out of place amidst the cocktail dresses and collared shirts. He looked rumpled, tired from the drive, his hair sticking up slightly in the back. My smile didn't just freeze, it felt like it shattered. Oh my God, no. My brain went into absolute panic mode. It was like a record scratch moment in a movie, but horrifyingly real. All that carefully constructed coolness, the image I'd been projecting all night, poof, gone, replaced by my slightly rumpled from a 6-hour drive husband holding gas station flowers. Jason was looking at him curiously. Sarah and Chloe had paused their conversation. Everyone in the immediate vicinity seemed to turn. The spotlight I'd been basking in suddenly felt scorching hot and deeply unwelcome. "Stacy, who's this?" Jason asked, his charming smile faltering slightly into confusion, and my mouth just opened. The words tumbled out before my brain could even catch them, fueled by pure mortified panic. "Oh, him?" I laughed, a high-pitched, unnatural sound. "This is a Dave." "Yeah, Dave. An old friend from work. Funny running into you here, Dave." "Dave? Where did Dave even come from? I don't even know a Dave." I saw the grin vanish from Lewis's face, replaced by a flicker of something. Confusion, hurt, disbelief. It was there and gone in a second, masked by a tight, forced smile as he played along, reaching out to shake Jason's hand. "Yeah, funny." Lewis is no Dave mumbled, his voice sounding weirdly flat. My heart was pounding. What did I just do? But the panic was louder. He can't be here. He doesn't fit. He'll ruin everything. Everyone's looking. This is so embarrassing. My internal monologue was screaming justifications. Why did he have to show up? Why couldn't he just respect that I wanted one night to myself? This is his fault for putting me in this position. He knows I hate surprises. It was a defensive tidal wave, washing away the initial shock and replacing it with a simmering resentment. He just had to insert himself, didn't he? Couldn't let me have this one thing. It felt like a power play, like he was reminding me and everyone else that I belonged to him, that I wasn't really the free, sparkling Stacy I was pretending to be. He had to bring me back down to earth, back to our cramped apartment reality, and I hated him for it in that moment. The air around our little group went from buzzing to thick with awkwardness. Jason gave a polite nod, clearly sensing the weirdness, and mumbled something about needing another drink before making a hasty retreat. Sarah and Chloe exchanged a look, the kind that speaks volumes without a single word, before suddenly finding someone else they absolutely had to talk to on the other side of the room. Smooth, ladies, real smooth. So there we were, me and Dave, standing in a rapidly expanding circle of awkward silence. The sad carnation suddenly looked even sadder. Well, I said, trying for breezy again, failing miserably. This is unexpected. Louise just looked at me, his eyes searching mine. That hurt I'd seen flicker earlier was back, settling in. I wanted to surprise you, he said quietly, his voice low so only I could hear. I thought I drove down after work. Thought you'd be happy to see me. Happy? Happy? Did he not see the meticulously crafted social performance I was in the middle of? Did he not understand that his sudden appearance, looking like he just rolled in from changing the oil, completely torpedoed my entire evening's mission? Read the room, Luis. Right. Well, surprise, I managed, forcing another brittle smile. I grabbed his arm, maybe a little harder than necessary. Come on, let's get you a drink or something. I steered him away from the main crowd towards the relative anonymity of the far corner near the emergency exit and a wilting fern. I could feel eyes following us. I could practically hear the whisper starting, "Who was that guy? Did you see her face?" I thought she said she came alone. Mortifying. Absolutely mortifying. As soon as we were semi-isolated, I rounded on him, keeping my voice to a harsh whisper. What the hell, Luis? What are you doing here? He looked taken aback. I told you I wanted to surprise you. Surprise me or check up on me, the accusation slipped out, sharp and unfair, but fueled by the adrenaline of social embarrassment. His face tightened. That's not fair, Stacy. Isn't it? Why else would you drive 6 hours unannounced? I hate stuff like this. You totally put me on the spot back there. I was deflecting, spinning, trying to make him the bad guy. Because if he was the bad guy, then maybe introducing him as Dave from work wasn't quite so horrible. Maybe it was justified. Put you on the spot, he repeated, disbelief coloring his tone. By showing up because I love you and wanted to see you on a night that seemed important. It wasn't important, I snapped back, immediately realizing how childish that sounded. It was just a stupid reunion and you made it weird. Dave, seriously, what was I supposed to do? I don't know, Stacy, he said, his voice dangerously quiet now. Maybe introduce me as your husband. Oh, don't be dramatic, I scoffed, waving a dismissive hand. Even though my stomach was churning, it just slipped out. It was easier than explaining. Easier, he echoed, the word flat, devoid of emotion. He wasn't buying it, not one bit. He just looked at me, this profound disappointment settling over his features, and it was like a wall went up between us, right there next to the sad fern. Okay, Stacy, whatever you say. He turned and walked towards the bar, leaving me standing there feeling weird. Not guilty exactly, more exposed and furious. Furious that he'd shown up, furious that he'd made me react that way, furious that he wasn't just letting it go. He totally ruined my night, my one night to feel like the old me. And somehow I knew, standing there alone, that This wasn't going to just blow over. Trying to salvage the evening was pointless. The vibe was shot. I tried mingling again, laughing a little too loudly, pretending everything was normal, but I felt marked, like everyone knew my dirty little secret, that my life wasn't as shiny as my dress, and that the guy, nursing a beer by himself at the bar, wasn't Dave from work. Luis kept his distance, exchanging polite nods if our paths crossed, but mostly just observing, his expression unreadable. It was worse than if he'd yelled. That quiet judgment, that palpable disappointment, it followed me around the room like a bad smell. Even chatting with Jason again felt forced and awkward. The earlier spark was gone, replaced by a hesitant politeness. I couldn't wait for the night to be over. I skipped saying long goodbyes, just grabbed my purse, found muttered, "Let's go." Didn't even bother with the pretense of staying at my mom's. What was the point now? The car ride home was thick with a silence so heavy you could barely breathe. Usually, after a night out separately, we'd chatter, comparing notes, filling each other in. Tonight, nothing. Just the hum of the engine and the rhythmic swoosh of the wipers clearing a light drizzle that had started. I stared out the passenger window, watching the highway lights blur past, my mind replaying the Dave incident over and over. Each time, my justification felt a little thinner, the embarrassment a little sharper. But admitting that, not a chance. Admitting fault would mean validating his hurt, and validating his hurt would mean acknowledging the crappiness of what I did. Easier to just not. He drove. Hands tight on the wheel, jaw clenched. I could feel the tension rolling off him in waves. I kept waiting for him to explode, to yell, to demand answers, but he just drove. The silence stretched, punctuated only by the occasional sigh from my side, mostly for dramatic effect, if I'm being honest, or the faint crackle of the radio he hadn't bothered to turn on. We finally pulled into the parking lot of our apartment building around 2 o'clock IMing. The rain had stopped, leaving the asphalt gleaming under the orange glow of the security lights. He killed the engine, and the silence in the car became absolute, deafening. An old friend from work. His voice, when it finally came, was quiet, dangerously quiet. Not angry, not accusatory, just flat, empty. It hung there in the small space between us. Here we go, round two. I braced myself, digging my nails into my palms. Luis, can we not do this right now? I'm exhausted. Exhausted? He turned to look at me, and in the dim light, I could see the deep lines of hurt etched around his eyes. I drove 6 hours, Stacy. 6 hours after a full day of work because I missed you, because I thought maybe, just maybe, you'd be happy to see me for an hour or two at this thing you seemed excited about, even if you pretended not to be. I wasn't pretending. I lied, my voice rising defensively, and you showing up like that was weird. You put me on the spot. How? He asked, his voice still unnervingly calm. How did my wanting to support you put you on the spot? Because everyone was looking and you just appeared, and I panicked. Dave just came out. Okay, it was stupid. It was easier, he said, he recalled, his gaze unwavering. Easier than what, Stacy? Easier than acknowledging me? Easier than admitting you're with me. The last word was barely a whisper, heavy with implication. That stung because maybe, just maybe, in that mortified moment, it had been easier than introducing the slightly rumpled guy holding gas station flowers as the man I chose to build a life with. But I wasn't about to admit that. Instead, I did what I always do when cornered. I deflected. I attacked. Oh, please. Don't try to make this my fault. Maybe if your track record was spotless, I wouldn't feel like you're constantly trying to keep tabs on me. I threw his past back in his face. The reformed wild boy angle. It was a low blow designed to wound, to shift the blame. For a second, I thought I saw a flash of the old Louise, the one with the quicker temper, but it vanished. He just shook his head slowly, a profound weariness settling over him. This has nothing to do with my past, he said, his voice tired. This is about you. This is about you being so ashamed or so concerned with what those people think that you pretended not to know your own husband. He paused, letting the weight of the word sink in. I don't even know who you are sometimes, Stacy. He opened his car door. I'm sleeping on the couch, he said, not looking back, and walked towards the apartment building, leaving me alone in the echoing silence of the car, the faint cloying scent of the rejected carnations still hanging in the air. The days that followed were cold, colder than just the usual chill of early spring. We moved around each other in the apartment like polite strangers. He kept his word, sleeping on the lumpy couch without complaint, leaving for work before I was fully awake, coming home late, the easy banter, the casual, such as the shared jokes, all gone, replaced by a strained courtesy that felt worse than outright hostility. He wasn't angry anymore. He was just distant, checked out. Like that wall I'd seen go up in the hotel ballroom was now permanently installed between us. He didn't ask about my day. He didn't try to make grand gestures. He just existed quietly, separately. I tried, sort of, once a few days later. I mumbled something over breakfast. Look, about the reunion. I'm sorry if you know your feelings got hurt. It was lame even to my own ears. A non-apology apology. He just looked up from his coffee, his expression unreadable. Okay, Stacy, was all he said before going back to scrolling on his phone. No forgiveness, no anger, just acceptance. Like he'd expected nothing more from me, and that, somehow, felt like the biggest rejection of all. It's been a few weeks now, and nothing's changed. The couch is still his bed. The silence is still deafening. He's polite. He pays his share of the bills. He takes out the trash. But the warmth, the connection, gone. It's like living with a ghost. And yeah, okay, maybe introducing him as Dave from work wasn't my finest moment. Maybe it was cruel. Maybe it was disrespectful. But did he have to react like this? Did he have to completely shut down? He drove 6 hours. Yeah, I get it. It was a gesture. But showing up unannounced was putting me on the spot. Doesn't he see that? He ruined my night just as much as I supposedly ruined his gesture. Relationships are about compromise, aren't they? He should have understood why I panicked. He should have forgiven me by now. Instead, he's acting like I committed some unforgivable crime. So, yeah, it's a mess. A cold, quiet mess. And honestly, I regret how it turned out. I regret this awful silence and the feeling that something important has been broken, maybe permanently. But do I regret why it happened? Do I think introducing him as Dave was the root cause of all evil? Not really. He was being needy showing up like that. He backed me into a corner. If he hadn't done that, none of this would have happened. It takes two to tango. He's just as much to blame for this awkward, miserable silence as I am. He just needs to get over it already. But I have a feeling he won't. And that's the part that really, really sucks.